Hi there, my name is John Tyler, old guy, but it dawned on me, like at 3 o'clock in the morning, several things went through my head, like how can we eliminate voter fraud forever? And then it dawned on me how simple it would be. I'll show you in a minute what happens now, and then right now I want to ask you this question. How would you like to eliminate election polls? No polls at all in the precinct. You don't have to drive and go to a polling place. Eliminate poll workers. Eliminate the Department of Motor Vehicles from issuing voter registration requests sometimes for non-citizens who acquire a license, and then they say, would you like to vote? Yes, I would. And then they'll send the information off to the local voting registrar. Now, how would you like to eliminate mail-in ballots? Absentee ballots? Wait, what about the soldiers? Hang on. How about weather problems? It's too cold, it's raining, it's freezing, it's too hot, it's too this. I don't want the long lines. You eliminate that by this, what I'm going to tell you right now. It eliminates poll watchers, those that have to watch to make sure there's no election fraud going on. How about delays on election day, where you don't know who the president or the senator or the congresswoman is, or your local politicians until, well, maybe it's just national elections that they go a week, they go 10 days. We can eliminate all of that. Very simple. Where the winner is announced at 8 p.m., period, and by 11 p.m., the news outlets have all the information, and you can go to bed knowing who your president or congressman or senator is. Now, how about eliminating paper ballots completely? How about eliminating dead people voting? How about updating voting rosters that are totally outdated, as you can imagine? I mean, they got people that don't exist. They moved out of state, they moved out of the country, but they're still on the voter ID rolls. So, and then there's the voter ID itself. There's all kinds of racism claims. Oh, we don't want a picture ID. You can eliminate all that. I'll show you how it works in just a moment. But for now, let me show you how it's working now. Remember all the things you can eliminate. You go to the DMV, for example. Then they say, would you like to vote? Sure. Then, all of a sudden, about a week later, you get something from, in this case, I got a yellow card. I live in North Carolina. And it's from the Union County Board of Elections, and so forth and so on. On the back of the card, they already know because of my driver's license address, my full name, my address, and other information. So they mail out this card to me. They mail it to me. I got it. So how this is going to work is so simple. To me, it's so simple. Let me explain how that's done. First of all, we have to address the issues. To get the total perspective on how eliminating voter fraud completely is done, everybody that votes is supposed to be a citizen. There are certain exceptions. Let me explain some things to you first of all. All United States citizens are eligible for a Social Security number. You have one, I have one, we all have one. And many parents actually routinely request numbers, Social Security numbers, for their children shortly after their birth. If you're born in the United States, you can obtain a Social Security number. The only non-U.S. citizens who can get a Social Security number are those who are authorized by the Department of Homeland Security to work in the United States. Now, there are voting precincts. That's who sent me Precinct 2. That's where I live, that's where I go and physically vote during the election period. So let me tell you the difference between a precinct and a ward, and we'll get right to how this is accomplished to avoid or eliminate voter fraud completely. A precinct is the smallest geographic unit that is used to make up election ballot groupings and usually contains between 1 and 1,400 voters. The numbering schemes vary between counties, but precincts can be considered small neighborhood areas. I live in a precinct. I vote in a precinct. They told me to go to Ray's Shoot Center and the address. Okay. A ward is a larger geographic district or municipality, and it's used in local government elections. But also a ward can be comprised of several precincts. And each state has a state board of elections, a commissioner, if you will. Now, John, what about the military voters? They have to fill out an absentee ballot, right? Well, according to what I researched, using the FPCA, which is Federal Postcard Application, that ensures that a military person's state will send them a ballot at least 45 days before an election. Then the state sends you, or the military person, an absentee ballot. That's how it exists now. John, what if I'm a resident in Florida and North Carolina, or Massachusetts and California? I live in 2 states. Can I vote? No, you can't. Well, they do. That's the problem I want to eliminate, right? But voting in 2 states in the same election is illegal. But people do it anyway to cheat. John, what about the elderly in nursing or convalescent homes? They can't get out. They don't drive. They can't do it. Well, when you move into a nursing home or assisted living facility, your address changes, which means you probably need to register to vote based on the new address. You can register in person or by mail. This is how it exists now. Or in some states online. To register in person, visit your local elections office or your local Department of Motor Vehicles. That's the way things are now. It stinks. Then there's the DMV, the local registry of motor vehicles. They ask you again, I'm going to repeat, would you like to register to vote? If you say yes, you're going to receive a card in the mail in about a week. Voter eligibility in North Carolina, that's where I live. To register to vote, you must be a citizen of the United States, you must be a North Carolina resident, and you must be at least 18 years of old by the date of the next general election, which happens to be coming up in 2022. John, what about prisoners? Well, in North Carolina, convicted felons must complete their incarceration, their parole, and their probation before they're eligible to register to vote. At the end of the supervised release period, their voting rights are automatically restored. Yet, even people convicted of felonies, the most serious crimes in the penal system, they're allowed to vote in some states. Convicted felons are even allowed to vote from behind prison bars in some states. I'm going to name those 2 states. Down in Virginia, I repeat former, thank God the guy's out of there, but former Governor Terry McAuliffe restored voting rights to tens of thousands of convicted felons on a case-by-case basis in 2016. These 2 states allow those convicted of felonies to vote even while they serve their terms. The voters in these states never lose their rights. Which states? Maine and Vermont. Surprised. Now, to obtain a credit card or a credit application, you need to fill out a credit form. This leads up to how we fix this fraud and eliminate voter fraud forever. To obtain a credit card, creditors want the following information. Simple. Your full name, you can do it online, right? Your full name, your address, your social security number or your tax ID, and your employer's name, or if you're retired, then you have to just check off retired. And then they want to know your cell or your landline phone number and your email address. Those 6 things. Now, a voter registration application should ask the same questions. That is where we fix this and eliminate the voter fraud forever problem. You apply for a voter registration application, and they should ask the same questions. Let me just go back to those. They should ask your full name, your address, your social security number or tax ID, your employer's name, unless you're retired, and then your cell phone number or your landline phone number and your email address. Those 6 simple things should be obtained online through a voter registration application. Okay, once approved, your voting rights are good for 1 year. One election, here comes an election 2022. Your voting rights are only good for 1 year because you could move, you could die, a host of things could happen. So it's only good for 1 year only, and I'll show you what I mean when I show you a voter registration card in just a moment. So you're given an online account requiring your ID, your name, your password, and not less than 2 questions with answers, like your mother's maiden name or your favorite sports team or the city of your birth, for example. Online voter registration sample. Let me get one to show you. So this is what they send you in the mail, just like a credit card. Voter authorization card. I have to look at my other screen. It says precinct 002. That's the precinct I live in, whatever precinct you live in. It's your voter authorization card. You're authorized by the precinct, by the State Election Commission, to vote. And it will give you your number, just like a credit card, a whole bunch of digits, and you fill out the digits when you log in online. There's your name, John Q. Smith, and then it says the expiration date is upon voting this election cycle. Let's say 2022. Soon as you vote and fill out the ballot, this card is no good. Next election cycle, whether 2 years or 4 years, then it's you reapply, because again, you might have moved, you might have dropped dead, who knows. So anything could happen. That keeps the voter registration rolls right up to snuff. And it's up to the precinct, because they don't need to hire poll workers anymore. They don't need to hire poll watchers anymore. I know a friend of mine is a poll watcher. He was hired. I says he's a friend of mine, but anyway, they hired him and they paid him like $200 a day to go watch to make sure everything goes okay and nobody's cheating, whatever. It eliminates a whole host of things that cost money. So to do this system would be simple and cost effective, and certainly it would straighten out the voter registration fraud problems that we have in the United States. So there's the card that you would get in the mail. Next, I'll show you how you log in online, just like you would getting credit, or you log into your bank, whatever. It's a simple thing. So after you go online and you fill out the voter registration request form, they send you not this, no. They send you an actual online voter registration card, just like you would if you signed in for a bank or your credit card or whatever. And it would say your username that they would give you, not on this, sent right to your inbox and your email. If you don't have a computer or you don't have an email, they can send it to you this way, the old-fashioned way. But about everybody has a computer, and certainly everyone has an address. I know that they marked mine down here. So you fill out your username that you selected, and you fill out your password that you selected. Nobody else has it. And then you sign in. If you forget your password, you could see it right there. And if you forget your user ID, it's there, just like we do when we go banking or buy stuff or whatever. Then the next thing, that after you log in, here's what you will see. You will see this. It's going to ask you for 2 more verification things. This eliminates everybody from cheating. What's your mother's middle name, for example? I don't know your mother's middle name. You don't know mine. It's just another verification to do voting the right way. In what city was your high school? Okay, I could put mine down, and now you log in, and you go right directly to a ballot. Watch. So, what? I don't have a cell phone, John. Now what? I got no cell phone, or I could go online and do this. Okay, you got no computer? Okay. Libraries have computers. Senior citizen housing or convalescent homes have computers. Schools for those over age 18 have computers. You know, if you're in the middle of the country and you don't have internet access yet, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for not being able to vote online. And again, this system would eliminate the polls, the poll workers, the DMV issuing voter registration request forms, for non-citizens in particular, mail-in ballots. It eliminates absentee ballots, weather problems. It eliminates poll watchers having to watch people stuffing duplicate ballots into machines. All that stuff is eliminated. And then the best thing is that the winner is announced by 8 p.m. when the polls close, and they have all the data online and all the figures are already in. It eliminates paper ballots, and it eliminates dead people voting. It eliminates voting rosters that are outdated, because once you vote, your card is dead until the next election cycle, where you, if you're still alive or you haven't moved, you contact your local precinct and you say, okay, I moved, I'm not dead, here's my address, I want to vote in the next election. This has to be done like between June and July and August of any given election cycle year. And again, the claims of racism, it drives me nuts, because what mostly Democrats claim is, well, look it's you're eliminating voters. This eliminates nobody. You don't need a voter ID. You don't need a photograph of yourself. You don't need anything. You don't need that when you apply for credit, right? So how it works, you find a computer or use your cell phone. You go online to the precinct online address. You request a voter authorization card like I showed you. Once assigned, the precinct checks or adds excuse me, your name to their authorized voter list. That eliminates the books. When I go to my precinct with this stupid card, there's 12 people sitting there, and they all got these giant books that they open out. What's your name? Okay, and they check it off. Where do you live? You give them your address, and they check it off. So you're already on their rolls, but there's probably thousands, well, in precincts it'd be hundreds maybe, of people that either are dead or they moved or whatever, so there's no check mark next to their names. This system would eliminate all of that stuff, because the polling places, the precincts, who are responsible for the voters within their precinct, need to update those rolls every single year, or every single election cycle, I should say. So if you really want to vote, you file for the voter election form, and you give them your name and your address and all that stuff that I already mentioned. Next, the precinct mails out the voter authorization card, just like they do, Visa does, or American Express, or whatever. And when you see the card, I'll bring it up again. You don't need a chip. Well, I don't have to bring the card up. You don't need a chip anymore. It's just got your name. It says it expires after you vote. You plug it in, go online. You get the ballot. Here's the president, the vice president, whatever. And it eliminates also the need for a Democrat ballot and a Republican ballot. Here's all the people running for president, whether they're Democrat, Green Party, whatever. It doesn't make any difference. You put an X online. When you see the ballot, you scroll up, president, I want this guy or that woman for senator, I want this person. For a congresswoman or man, I want this person. And you put an X. And when you're done, that your ballot's done. The authorized voter then goes online and submits his ID and password, like I said, and you've already seen the illustration, and you get an answer to it. You have to answer those at least two additional questions, and then you're admitted to the ballot once you do that. Authorized voter places the X, like I said, near the person he or she wants to elect, or the ballot initiative in some cases. You want marijuana? Yes, no, whatever. It's on your ballot in your state. No signature is needed. So this thing about racism and I don't want signatures and all, you don't need it. You're online, you're already registered, you've met all the requirements, those 6 things, name, address, social security number, and that type of stuff. So the ballot is then tallied by the precinct. Voting closes at 8 p.m. 11 o'clock news outlets get the accurate vote counts, like California's different time than Massachusetts. And then authorized voter can check in to ensure that his or her vote was registered. So by 11 o'clock p.m., all news outlets will have accurate tallies and winners are announced. And you can go to sleep. No weather, no driving, no nothing. Simple. If I'm wrong, point out where I'm wrong.